Hi, how you doing? My name is Kenny T. On my moment of the week this week, I took a trip down to Malawi. And in Malawi, I'm in a city called Zomba City. It's a very beautiful city. There's so much happening this weekend because one of the main activities of this week is the Zomba Festival. Zomba is a beautiful city located at the foot of the Zomba Plateau in the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. Once every year around Labor Day, the city comes to life in its all vibrance and energy and forms the theater for the Zomba City Festival. So the festival is basically all around music, visual arts, exhibition, fashion, theater, poetry, dance, and so much more. And one of the highlights of this festival is that Tay Green is performing this evening at the festival. Hello and welcome to the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. Today's podcast is a very, very different one because we have Mr. Lawrence Thompson. He's a film producer. He does a lot of writing. He's directed a lot of movies as well as soap operas. You remember Kabanana back in the day? He's the man behind Kabanana. Mr. Thompson, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you very much, Kenny. I really appreciate being on such a powerful platform.
I'm very grateful that you made it, Mr. Thompson. I know how busy your days are, but we're grateful that you made time to come and sit with us. You have a very inspiring story. I think before we knew anything about soap operas, I think you showed us the way. But before we get to Kabanana, I know a lot of people have a lot of interest, in as far as that is concerned. Let's speak about you,
Okay.
Mr. Thompson. I know that you're a journalist. You're a filmmaker. You write a lot of script. You still do a lot of writing.
Yeah.
Let's start from your early years.
Okay.
Where were you born? How many years ago? And what was your childhood like?
Okay. I was born in 1959. Back then, we were still under the colonial era. And I grew up in an area called Thorne Park.
Nimaenda kudiansima pa Thorne Park.
It was very different at the time when I was growing up there. It was there wasn't so much activity like the activity that's going on there now.
Yeah.
Thorne Park was an area designated to people of mixed race. And called colored people, and it was designated like that by the colonial government because they wanted to separate people from, I don't know whether they call it divide and rule kind of thing. And I think being in such a situation, because my grandmother from my mother's side was black and her father was white. My dad had colored parents, and we got to stay in Thorne Park. And even in Thorne Park, there was some kind of a lingo or language you want to call. I know today you hear things like XA and all that. That was our lingo at the time when we were staying in Thorne Park, and that's how we communicated. And everything was in slang, if you can call it that. And
what's cutting?
What's going on? All those things. That was a proper language.
Yeah.
And a lot of using the F word and things like that. That was the language that we grew up in that area.
Wow, because I've got a lot of friends that are of mixed race. My kids are mixed.
Yeah.
But I usually joke with them about the reason I'm saying this is so that someone knows that I'm saying it with respect. But I joke with them and I tell them, look, you're supposed to have been a mechanic. What was going on with mechanics and mixed race people around that time? Because I think a lot of our friends,
Yeah. Well, a mechanic at that time was considered a better job. It was very difficult for a black person to get a decent job. And coloreds, because those days they never employed people based on what quality of educational qualifications you had, but from the complexion of your skin. So mechanics was something that many coloreds drifted to because, I don't know, coloreds seem to have like an engineering mind, and majority of the people who were there used to just repair cars, and it was like above just being.
Did you repair any cars, Mr. Thompson?
When I was a kid, yeah, I did. I learned how to dismantle and assemble a carburetor when I was quite young.
Yeah.
And I was quite good at it. That was what I used to do when I used to, in my spare time, when I'm not at school, I'm there doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how it was.
It's very, very interesting. It's I'd have been very shocked that you didn't go. If you said you didn't go through, the issue of fixing cars, mechanics, and all of that. The other time, I saw a video where a guy was saying, "Colored owns. They can dismantle an engine with one spanner."
Yeah, like I like the way you're saying colored owns. Those are the language we used to say. Colored owns used to Goffel owns used to we're hot at sorting out a G, because you grew up with that thing. So that time, coloreds used to be employed either as a locomotive driver, for the trains.
Yeah.
So they used to work in the railways, mechanics, and that was the general employment for colored people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're growing up, did you have a role model? Did you know what you wanted to be, especially considering the environment that you grew up in?
I think there was it was mixed because there's a bit of confusion when you really don't know your clear identity. Because I think being colored was like a mixed identity. You don't really know where you belonged fully. So looking at role models and things like that is something which never really crossed my mind. Apart from like when you watch, like TV and stuff like that, and you see people like Muhammad Ali and people like that. Those were my role models, and because of fighting also in Thorn Park, I was a boxer as well, so that was what I sort of like went into.
You were a boxer?
I was a boxer.
How did you get into boxing, Mr. Thompson? I never knew this about you.
My brother-in-law was Jamaican, and I went to stay with him. He used to be in a band called the Migs back in the day. It was a very popular band, and he used to be the singer in that thing, and he was very famous. And I stayed with him, and he was a boxer when he did amateur boxing in Jamaica and all that. And when I started staying with him, we used to exercise and thing. And I thought, like, why don't we join a club? And the first club I joined for boxing was Kaunda Square Amateur Boxing Club, run by Alpha Kasonde, who was the coach there. And quite a few top boxers came out of his gym, and that's where I started my boxing. And I was so passionate about boxing. I knew all the weight divisions, and everything to do with boxing was something that I knew. I used to have a heap of Boxing Illustrated. So Muhammad Ali's fights, I used to watch all of them. I could tell you everything about those fights because of my passion for boxing. So he could have been considered my first role model, I think.
So after you got into boxing as a young man, did it make you aggressive? Did it make you fight more? Or did it bring some level of discipline?
It brought a level of discipline because, you see, those days fighting was just a thing. But boxing made me more disciplined and controlled. I never got into any fights because the first thing I was told is that your punches are weapons, and you can kill a person if you. So you have to be very careful after you train and you know how to use your hands. You had to be disciplined, not to use them anyhow. And when I went into boxing, and majority of the colored guys thought, he thinks he's tough. Let me go and take him on. But I sorted them out because of the training that I had in boxing. So
so they'll get up and say, "Oh, so he thinks he's a boxer. Let's go show him."
I mean, if you seemed to be some kind of strong guy, people wanted to take you on. Let me see if I can sort him out, because it's like like how gangs operate. You've got to, for you to be the leader of the gang, you've got to beat up somebody. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it was. And if somebody was known to be quite strong, or there was something about them, they wanted to try you out and see if you could stand.
So what kind of a family did you come from? You spoke about it briefly. How many siblings do you have?
Yeah. We were 7 in our family. My dad was a mechanic, and my mom used to work for a white family as those days call them housekeepers.
Okay.
But it's the same as being a maid.
Okay.
So she worked there, and she learned how to cook for the white people and things like that. So that's the type of family I got. I was raised in. We had a house, 3-bedroom house, the seven kids, and my together with my parents. And it was a rough. It wasn't so easy, you know. My dad was a mechanic, and but the one beautiful thing that he worked for Abe Galoon, who owned big butcheries and ranches. So one of the
Galon,
perks,
on the farms as
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
So part of the perks of working for him was that he would get meat. So to tell the truth, I never ate anything else but meat throughout my life because my dad had a full supply because of where he was working, you know.
Yeah.
So he raised us. I mean, looking at his background, he was a humble man. Working, his education wasn't so great. Working as a mechanic, he managed to raise us and send us to school and things like that. So I had a lot of respect for my dad, in spite of the fact that he you know, that he didn't have that much education, but he
Yeah.
managed to do so well. Yeah.
Yeah. So after Thornpark
Yeah.
primary school, where did you go?
Okay. I couldn't get into grades to grade. Now it's grade from grade 7, grade 8. Yeah, I couldn't go into grade 8 again. It was looking like because of the issue of the name and things like that. So I didn't qualify. So I was out of school for quite a while, and I worked as you know, with my brother, like I said, with my brother-in-law who was looking after poultry. So I was doing poultry farming and things like that. But my mom just said, you have to go back to school. There's no way you can just be a farmhand and things like that. And then I ended up going to Nkumbi International College.
Nkumbi, where is that?
Nkumbi International. It's in Mokushi.
Uh-huh.
It was a school. It's called international school because it was specially established for people, refugees and things like that. And it was a United Nations school. It was a really good school because the education, the level of education there was really high because it was more or less adult education, but also for refugees and Zambians. So it was to qualify from there, you had to go through the Department of Technical Education and Vocational Training, and that's how I got into Nkumbi. And I did whilst there I was doing my secondary school education and photography, and that's how I also got interested in
media.
photography and media.
Photography.
Yeah. So I went to Nkumbi International, and that's where I did my secondary school.
Okay, I know that you're a qualified journalist.
Yes. Well, I went to Evelyn College for that. Yeah.
Okay.
I did the studies in the evening together with people like Emmanuel Mwamba, Rejoice Lukumba, and quite a number of people who are renowned journalists today. I trained there, but I never finished the training because I was already working for an organization and working for top things like Associated Press and all that. And I was getting bylines for those type of setups.
Yeah,
And you thought I'm already qualified and things like that. So that's where I started doing it. And then I was working for Reuters International, which was before, when I joined, it was Viz News and so on. So I leaned towards broadcast journalism, and I've been doing a lot of work through the various international news agencies. Talk about BBC, CNN, all those I've been doing. To date, I still work for Al Jazeera, and I do a bit of work for CNN. I think I called you even. I think I actually did some stories.
Oh yeah. You connected us, and I think we're featured on Inside Africa on CNN. Yeah. So that's great stuff. So, but is this what you wanted to do at some point in life?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Or was it just a convenient thing that you?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And that's what I was focused on. But when I went to Nkumbi and I started doing still photography and all that, I really got locked into photography, and my mind. And then from there, during holidays, I used to work for Abby Maini, a place called Palesa Sight and Sound. It was a news media outlet. That quite a few top journalists actually also came through there and ended up international journalists, working for Reuters internationally and traveling and being bureau chiefs in different countries. So that's where I used to go for holidays and training, and that's how come I got more interested in the film. And that's where I was trained to do camera work by great man who passed on, but he taught me how to use the camera. And I was one of the good camera people, news cameramen in the country. Yeah.
Did you work anywhere as a cameraman?
I worked for the only Zambian company I worked for was Palesa, and then from there I went into Associated Press as a cameraman, and I worked for them for years. And then after I worked first for Reuters full time directly with them. I had a 4-year contract with Reuters at the time. And then after Reuters, I joined Associated Press, and working as a cameraman. And then when Al Jazeera English was formed, the bureau chief in South Africa, who was running the Al Jazeera, the AP center, took over Al Jazeera English, and he took all his people. Who I was one of them, and that's how come we started working for Al Jazeera. I've been with Al Jazeera since that time.
How easy was it for you to get a job with, or for you to get any work done with Associated Press?
Well, when I was working for Palesa, I did quite a number of great things, and there was a point where I was invited to Reuters in London and went for orientation in London. I worked there for a while, and when I came back, they wanted me to continue working for them, and I worked for them for another 4 years. And then after that, that's how come from then I was just my reputation internationally grew, and I found that a lot of work was being offered to me from various organizations. Yeah.
Great. So let's speak about your family life. I know that you've been married for almost 40 years.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's speak about that. At what age did you get married? How many kids do you have?
Okay. I met my wife. The way I met my wife, I don't know. I prayed to God and I said, "Show me the woman I'm going to marry." And then the next day, I was introduced to this lady, not directly, but just indirectly. And when I said,
"How indirect was this?"
I was with my girlfriend, and then she said, "I'd like you to meet." We bumped into them in town and all that, and I saw this lady, and her eyes struck me so much, and it was an instant love at first sight.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember was just her surname on a T-shirt she was wearing. And I said, I have to find that girl. And I kept on looking around until I met a friend who went to school with her. And he says, "Oh, I know that family name, and it must be so and so." And I kept on trying to find her. Then one day he introduced me and said, "You remember that chick you're talking about? This is the brother." And from then he started calling me Mulamu before I even met my wife.
So the brother already signed off and said, "He's the one."
He used to come and get some cash from me now and again and stuff like that. And you see, she came from a wealthy family because her father was a diplomat. He was ambassador in the United States and things like that. And I came from the ghetto, Thorn Park. And it was like, that type where you're trying for a girl who's above your level and all that. So I pursued her and pursued her. And then one day she became the woman of my life. And we were, we dated and eventually got married. 8 months from the day I met her, I was married to her.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. And then?
Then I had two children. Andrew and Lucy and Andrew. Andrew's the second born, yeah. And Lucy's given us three wonderful grandchildren, Sui, Maya, and Clementine, who are the loves of my life. I mean, they just make my day. Yeah.
But so between the two, which one has gotten an interest in your line of work?
Sui calls herself a filmmaker, and she started writing script when she's only 10 years old.
Your granddaughter?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you mean in terms of my children?
Yeah.
I think I influenced both of them, except when I sent them to university, I got Andrew to study. I influenced Andrew to study business studies, and Lucy I put her into the media side of things. But they both took different directions. Andrew just went into the video production. He's a great DOP director. He can write and so on. And I respect his work. And Lucy's gone into real estate, and that's what she's doing. But she helps us from time to time, and she's really good at, especially the work I do for fixing. She comes and helps sometimes, because of the numbers of people who come. Sometimes I need that help. Yeah.
No. I mean, I've heard that Andrew is doing a good job in directing and so forth. I was
Yeah.
speaking to somebody and they told me, look, one of the best DOPs is Andrew. But obviously, they didn't know that I
You know,
actually, yeah.
yeah.
For those that are watching, Mr. Thompson and I come from way back. I think as we go on chatting, you see where the connection starts.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Kabanana.
Okay.
Is it something you ever wanted to do? How did this come up?
Well, I was passionate about making a film, and I tried to do a film at first. It was written by Edem Jokoto. It was something like Mississippi Masala. I don't know if you watched that
I
film.
watched Mississippi Masala,
Yeah.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we were planning to shoot, but it was shot down by the professionals in the industry, and it sort of like discouraged me, and I even quit like the film industry for a while because of that.
Why? What was the reason?
I mean, there were some strong words said to me by people already in the industry, people I respected in the industry, and so on. And I thought, well, maybe I'm getting too big-headed in the film industry. Let me just pull out of it because of the roadblock I found, and I walked out of the industry and started doing completely something different. But then there was a time when there's a lady who was working for Society for Family Health, and I was at home, relaxed, and doing something completely different. And she came in and knocked on the door and said, "Are you Lawrence Thompson?" I said, "Yes." And she just said, "Oh, I'd like to see you. Can you just give me a moment?" And she went into a car and she brought out a box and put it on my the center table. And she said, "I heard you're a filmmaker and you think." I said, "Yeah, but I stopped a long time and all that." She said, "Oh, that's a pity. Just look what's in the box." And then I found in the box there were tapes, and there was money in the thing, and I was quite broke at the time.
Wait, so there was those tapes and money in the box?
Yes, that's the deposit for me to do the movies. I mean, she didn't have to say anything more. I was tempted. I said, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." She wanted me to do 5 short HIV/AIDS awareness films.
Films, yeah.
Yeah, and she said, "Everybody's pointing to you. Can you do this for me?"
Yeah.
So I was excited, and I thought, "Wow, with this money, sure." So I took on the money, and we made 5 of them, and they were a hit. And and the more that I did, I got more encouraged to say, "Let me just go back to thing." And what I realized that even if I wanted to make a film, to raise the money to make a film was hard. And I saw in Zambia the way to make something to do with film was to come up with a soap opera, which was quite popular at the time. I remember there was Dynasty and things like that. So I thought that might be the avenue to take. And then I realized that there was issues to do with product placement and stuff like that. So I saw there was longevity for me to be making films and going on. So I thought of like, let me start a soap opera in Zambia. And then I asked for people to bring scripts, and various people brought scripts. And I chose the one called Kabanana. A guy called Ivan Mwene is the one who created it. And he gave me one episode.
I remember Ivan.
Yeah. And he made one. He did one episode. He wrote one episode. The first episode of thing, he did it. And from there, I had a conversation with him, and I said, "I'd like to work with this. Can you give it to me? We'll work together." And he says, "No, for me, if you want me to think, all you have to do is just pay me the money." He actually made that sign and said, "Pay me the money." I said, "Are you sure?" Because this thing will be, he says, "I don't care. I don't care. I write scripts.
Yeah.
If you want this, just give me the money." And he charged me 800 kwacha. By then, it was a lot of money. And I managed to raise that money, and I paid him off. And the film was mine, and then it became such a big hit when I got to producing it, because I didn't realize I had such a wonderful eye to create such things, and I felt like it was such a delay from the time when I wanted to make the film to this, and the quality was good and acceptable even in the region, so it was a hit.
How did you pick the characters? Can we speak about that?
Yeah, it took a while because I wanted to get the right people. So we did an audition, and there was like about 500-600 people who came through, but we needed a family of about 5-6 people. It wasn't easy cutting to get to that point, but in the end we got. But then we were stuck with one of the characters, which was the character of Jason Kabanana, and we looked, and I had these faces stuck on my wall, but I couldn't select who to come. Then one day I walked into my office and I found Kangwa Cheleshe sitting in my office, a young boy, good looking and all that. And I said, hey, you're the guy I'm looking for, you know? And he was saying, what do you mean, sir? I said, you're the guy I'm looking for. Come in my office. And then we said, want to try. And straight away, he was the perfect character because that character had gone to States to study and he had the accent and everything. So that's how we chose Kangwachileshe to take that role.
What about PK?
Matongo actually, he campaigned to be in the show. I remember, I remember he came for the auditions and he was working for was it Airtel or Celtel that time, and he was there and he was really campaigning to get onto it. He even bought all of us. Our first phones were bought by by him. All of us in the production had phones and we had the same numbers. I can't remember the numbers, but we all had the same numbers because he was working for Celtel.
Yes,
so he also gave us the numbers and everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had no choice. I mean, although he was a great actor, I mean, even his performance, even without him trying to campaign for it, it was an automatic choice. And I think that was the best character we chose for the show. He actually drove the show quite high. Him and Dinus and Kangwa.
I wanted to speak about Dinus as well.
Yeah.
How did she come on the show?
Dinus came later in the game because we didn't have any comic relief in the show. And we thought, how can we bring it? Because the family is already established. And then we said, through the people who work for them, because they will now start talking about them and create the comic relief, talking about the family and so on. And we thought we needed also to have vernacular in the show. And when we thought that, we had I can't remember who was the scriptwriter who joined us. It might have been Bob Nkosha, who suggested, why don't we, put the vernacular and all that? And then we brought in Dinus, and just straight away, she and Esnat, who was playing Esnat, I mean, they were a hit, and people started talking to them. And then we thought they should have boyfriends, and that's how come we got by Robbie and Limbani.
Yeah,
he's now Limbani, but I think what was he called? Ngalande in the show. He was called Ngalande. Yeah.
So, what was your experience like working with all these characters, producing Zambia's first soap?
I mean, it was interesting because nobody was a professional in the industry, I must admit. And from soundmen, makeup, and all that, I was in each department, working with different people. And the actors also weren't that experienced. You must know that Kangwa. The only people who came from theater was Mr. Mwape Kabanana, but the rest of the Kabanana family, none of them were seasoned actors. So all the training started from there, and people started getting experience from being in front of the screen, on the screen through Kabanana. So that's where they got the training. So it was quite interesting because I didn't realize the talent I had, because I was actually showing people the different ways to do certain things and so on. I was also getting the experience and then sharing the experience, and it was interesting.
So what are some of the highlights, like from Kabanana, obviously on set, off set?
I think the greatest highlight was when because I invited Connie Marcelo to the launch of the event, and she went back and told the owners of Generations in South Africa, and they invited us and said, "Come over, we're going to train you all at our expense." And they bought us air tickets and everything to go there.
Wow.
And they trained us and even gave us a per diem whilst we're staying there, and seeing most of the crew that I had selected to go, they'd never been in a plane before, and all these things happening, and it was, I mean, they were so excited. It was such a wonderful experience going with them,
And then challenges, Mr. Thompson, doing a production like that, it can't be easy at all.
Oh, it was extremely hard because people don't really understand production, how production works.
Yeah.
And when we signed the big check on TV and all that, 1 point whatever billion kwacha, but the way the money was given to us was 30 million a month. Those days rebased. I'm not talking about 30 million today, but rebased. It wasn't rebased then. So we'd be seen on TV getting that check. But when the money, when you're doing production, the money has to flow. It's like you open a tap and it has to keep coming.
Yes.
But they would open the tap and close, and we had to survive now. So the actors weren't getting paid on time and so on. So obviously the people started getting suspicious. No, they gave Mr. Thompson. We saw the check and what have you. And, there's a lot of talk around it. It was so frustrating and depressing sometimes. It was very lonely for me because I was the producer of this thing and it looked like there was a lot of money, but the money wasn't coming. But people never looked at my life. I wasn't really going anywhere. And I was using my chickens from the farm to feed everybody. I'm sure you had one of the chickens, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that was the biggest challenge, getting the team to understand that, look, the money is not coming out the way it's supposed to. This is how production works and so on. So it was really tough for me.
But also it was it was pretty new, isn't it?
Yes, it was also
to everybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions and stuff like this.
Yes. So those are some of the biggest challenges, and trying to get people to be all online and say, look, this thing is going to work at the end of the day, and I think it would have worked in the end of the day, but it was so frustrating for me. There were good characters who were the actors who just wanted to be on screen, like people like yourself, people like Kangwa. And the like, you never troubled. I don't think you even bothered. I don't think you even got a salary, if I'm not mistaken.
I did.
But most people didn't even care about that. But there was others who would put you under a lot of pressure,
Under a lot of stress,
and there was crew who had families and stuff like that. It was really a tough game, and but I'm glad at the end of the day it was experience. I learned a lot from it, and so on. And I know the actors as well learned a lot. And most of them now are starting to get into production, and they say, "Oh, okay, so this is what it's like." So Mr. Thompson wasn't lying when he said we don't have the money; it's not coming through, and so on. So it was a big challenge at the time. Yeah.
But I think also away from everything else, I think you brought together people who've had relationships, and others got married and stuff. Did you attend any of these weddings?
I think I attended Pakeni's wedding because I was married to my in-law. I was meant to be at Kangwa's wedding, but there was a problem. I got the card somehow. It didn't get to me and things like that. And I think I was a bit sensitive at the time. And I thought Kangwa should have delivered
the card himself.
But he came home and explained to me, no, I was so busy. And we wanted to come there, and, the different challenges that he had and stuff like that. So I missed that wedding. But I managed to go to Pakeni's wedding. Yeah, and it's and I also, like most of the people who were in the production, we became a family. I know you're like my son because of Kabanana. Kangwa is like my son also because of Kabanana. I mean, he calls me every other day, and quite a number of other people still call me Owas. All of those come from the same family, if I can call it that. And it's nice to see everybody progressing and see. I mean, I remember when I saw you were quite a small boy. I'm so proud to see now that you heading such a big organization and things like that.
Thank you,
and I saw where you came from and stuff like that. It's really touches my heart, and I feel so proud.
So when you say I was a small boy and stuff, my kids, they roast me when they see those old pictures.
I think I sent you one clip where you were really tiny.
I showed them. It took me 3 days before I could show them. That was something. But Mr. Thompson,
not to embarrass you. I remember you gave me a problem, and I was trying to say, how am I going to sort this out? Because I needed you to take off your shirt. And for some reason, you wouldn't take off your shirt. And I was saying, but this is what the scene expects you to take off your shirt and put a towel over. And you said, no way I'm taking off my shirt.
Maybe if I got some warning, Mr. Thompson, I'd have gone to the gym and looked a bit better.
Was that the reason why?
I remember. I don't know. I just got uncomfortable. And then you know what you did? You just came from your directors, both there, just came down, say, you're not taking off your shirt.
Yeah.
I said, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Then you took off your shirt.
To show you that there was no, and my body wasn't as great. Because sometimes you have to show the people to get them courageous enough, but you were stubborn, and you never got to think. And I was complaining, saying, this guy, I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, and then also on top of the other pressure, Mr. Thompson, because all of us were giving you all types of trouble.
Yeah, no, there was different type of trouble. And I remember getting mad with you even and saying, you know, and I walked off the set and was like, what are we going to do now? This is how I wanted, and we had to compromise and just go along with what you did. But there was other people who gave us worse problems.
Anything to share?
No, I'm not going to share anything. But Pakeni also, you know, because he's a strong character.
Yeah.
Sometimes on set, you know, he's a comedian, that guy.
Yeah.
And I remember one time he cracked a joke. And for that day, we couldn't work. We stopped working because
everyone was laughing.
We were laughing throughout. He had this song. He had that song where he used to sing like it's KK singing, and then it's like Mandela singing. And I can't remember the song, but when he did that, oh my God, everybody was tickled. So you're finding like we tried to do a set, and you know, as these cameramen are there, you know, those days I used to have to hold the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm looking on the viewfinder. I mean on the what you call it, the monitor. And you suddenly see the camera. And I look and I see the cameraman is
he's laughing.
He's laughing completely. And then the next thing, everybody just breaks up laughing. We had to cancel the shoot that day because it's impossible. The laughter bug was stuck in us and we couldn't come out. And he kept on repeating the joke and so on, and people just kept on laughing and so on. So he used to give us a challenge like that. But wonderful guy, great actor, and you know, I miss the days.
PK.
You know, just discussing it with you now, it's taking me all the way back.
All the way back, bringing back all the good memories.
Yeah.
But the Kabanana project, there are no plans of getting it back?
I definitely want to get it back onto screen, and I'm working towards that. I managed to get the rights, and I'm just now negotiating with ZNBC how we're going to do it. I've been working on a script also that will suit it and stuff. And you are going to be one of the lead characters in it, obviously.
Okay.
In case you don't know. So we're still having discussions with the Director General Barry Luando to see how best we can fit it into the thing. Because I don't know if I can talk about this now, but I wanted to talk about it when I'm talking about the advocacy about the film industry and stuff.
Okay, maybe you can talk about it, and then we can
still go back. So what it is, I'm thankful that Zambezi Magic came on the scene. I mean, they understood production. When you looked at what we're going through with Kabanana, Zambezi Magic understood what it was like to make films, and they have experience, and the way the funding came in and so on. They really elevated the film industry. We got a film industry based on Zambezi Magic. But I think also ZNBC could come in, and I think the government should start thinking in terms of how are we going to get ZNBC activated so they can be also a major distributor. The music industry has done quite well. I mean, even you, I've seen on your channel, all you got is Zambian music and all that, and it's really lifting up the level of Zambian music. And we need the same thing in the film industry. So I'm advocating for ZNBC to start giving the same sort of support that Zambezi Magic gives to the film industry. And so we can keep some of the stuff also local, you know, and ZNBC should have been their flagship shows should have been, besides Kabanana, they should have been Mpali, all these should have been on ZNBC. And it's about time that the government and you know, just the authorities involved to ensure that the percentage of local content on ZNBC should be 100%, and stop getting these foreign movies from Argentina or somewhere there, South America and places like that, India and so on. They shouldn't be allowed on our screens. We must just be putting Zambian content, and the amount of money they're paying for that type of content should come to the Zambian productions. And I think even TV levies and stuff like that should come through. And even TV stations that are doing that should get some kind of funding from government as well. If your channel, for example, is doing local content, I think that should happen.
Great. This is the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. We're talking to Mr. Lawrence Thompson. So, Mr. Thompson, let's speak about your movie. That was the first Zambian movie to make it on Netflix. It should be the first, if I'm not mistaken. Let's speak about that.
Yeah.
What did you draw the inspiration from? Can we talk about it? Okay,
the idea to do this film, I try to do first and foremost the type of genre that I'm sort of leaning towards is human interest, and I tried to look at reality and things like that. If you looked at my first film on Zambezi Magic, Turn of Fortune, that was based on a street kid and things like that. So I tried to get to those type of things. But you see, my work as a person working as a fixer with different production houses and so on, Japanese television contacted me and they wanted me to do. They wanted to do a story on Monica Mungo. She's a what do you call it? This Olympic sports. What do you call it? Olymp. For the handicap and all that.
Paralympic.
Paralympic, yeah.
Okay.
So she was a great athlete who was there, and she won awards which Zambians really didn't know about. But Japan took a particular interest in her, and they started following, and they asked me to do. They wanted to do a story on this girl who has albinism, and so on. So. From that's how come I got to meet. Because doing my research, I found John Chitty, and he was he was actually the chairman of the Albinism Association in Zambia. So I talked to him, and we talked about the attacks that people living with albinism. They were.
Because there's a lot of myths around.
Yeah. That you get rich if you use a part of albinism and stuff like that. So he said, listen, we've got this girl, but she's based in Chama. Chama is way up. You go through the Eastern Province, Lundazi, and then you go up there. So I said, okay, fine, we want the story done, and the Japanese people are coming and they want to do the story. So he took me all the way to Chama, and we met a girl called Miriam who had her arm cut off. And the story behind that was so sad, because a teacher went into that area, and he showed he was interested in her, not knowing he was interested in trying to get a
body part.
Yeah. And one day he picked her up in the night and says, oh, let's go for a drink or something. And they were going. And then suddenly somebody hit her on the head. And she was like semi-conscious, and they started cutting the right hand. And he said, no, the doctor said cut the other hand. And they cut the other hand. And she could hear because she was semi-conscious, because they just hit her on the head, and she was still like that. And she saw that the boyfriend was actually the one behind all of this. And when they cut off her hand, completely cut off her hand, and they left her there for dead. So she got a bit of strength and started screaming and what have you, and they took her back home. And just listening to a story was so touching. And then I started talking to John, and he started saying, this thing is serious, and that's why I use music to advocate for this. And he started telling me a story about how he grew up, and the father rejected him and so on. And I wrote something on social media about him, and with my version and so on. And a lot of people started reading, and I said I'd make a film out of it. And that's what inspired me to write the script. And when I got back after we finished the story and all that, I went on to my dining table, and I never stopped. I wrote until I finished it, and that was the script which we used for the film. Can You See Us? And I automatically thought, this is something that I'm going to push onto Netflix, and that was the target. It was Netflix all along. So in order for me to reach that level, I knew that I had to put a team together that was going to be able to deliver it.
To deliver a certain level of quality.
So I talked to some of the people I thought were professional, and Kenny Mumba.
Rock.
Yeah, when I looked at his work and what he had done before, I said, this is the guy I would want to do the film with, And at the time, I was also busy doing my coffee, but still, I felt that I wanted to work with somebody else to do the thing. And Kenny proved to be the right person to get it. He had also connections and stuff like that. So that's how we got to produce it with Kenny.
How does it make you feel? Because I think it was a success. The premiere of this, the president attended the premiere, is it?
That's correct. The president attended the thing, and that was the first time the first time a head of state was coming to watch a locally produced film in an open theater, and I thought that was amazing. And I give kudos to the president for that, and all the people who made it possible. I really valued that so much, because they gave it prominence and things like that. I was really grateful that the president was able to come and watch it.
So, other than Makofi, I know that you've done other productions.
Yeah.
What productions are these? That we can talk about.
Well, there was one I did with Israeli company called Tinstar Production. It was called Son of a Railway Man. And then we did Ten of Fortune, which was also on there. And currently I'm working on two productions. Again, this is my genre, which I also choose to work with. and it's about human interest as well, and also something which will advocate for change. So I'm doing something on girl child education. I took it to Cannes in France, and I pitched it there, and I got the interest of some investors and things like that. But unfortunately, because of the policies in Zambia, I wasn't able to work with those guys. But I've managed to get local support for it. So I'll be shooting a film called Lute, which is about girl child education. And then my mom also is she suffers from Alzheimer's dementia, and she has us as a family to look after her. It's a painful disease, and we have to we have to work with her. I mean, take care of her completely, 100%. And then I see, when I go on social media, I see these old ladies getting beaten up and, roughly beaten up because of Alzheimer's, and they're calling them witches and things like that. So I felt there's need for us to create awareness on that issue. So that's why I decided to also do a film on the dementia and Alzheimer's. It's called Fading Memories. For that, I'm using what they call crowdfunding. So I've got my connections internationally and all that, and they're sending in drips and drabs of money, but it's building up, and that's what I'm going to use to make Fading Memories. Whereas I'll get quite big support for Lute from some organizations in Zambia.
It's a good thing that you're doing this, because a few weeks back I had an interview with Dr. Mjajati, and one of the things he spoke about is, the elderly men and women who suffer from the same. Sometimes they get up from their homes and they take a walk, and they don't know where they're going, and they don't know where they are.
Yeah.
People find them, they say, no, nimfuiti. They beat them and they kill them without understanding.
Exactly. Because they start operating like a child. That's why they take off their clothes and they walk and so on. And there's some which have really touched my heart so much. And I think I'm hoping that we're going to create awareness where we're going to take the movie into the communities and say, it's not. Because in the film, there's a scene which also you see an elderly person get beaten up and things like that, and how it impacted the family and things like that. Yeah.
Wow, it's very deep. We did Talent Yapa Z, Mr. Thompson. We haven't spoken about that.
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah, that it was a great talent show, and you actually made it happen. Huh? It was such a success. I call it a total success, except that we didn't get the proper support, and we took so long to finally get it around the corner. But I think it was a very successful project. We created a lot of employment at the time, and we exposed this young man who's also become quite a top musician in Zambia, and quite a few of them. I think even Portia Clark is doing something internationally. You've got, what was that one? One you got from Livingston, and you said, "Wow, this one is amazing." Mordecai and the girl. There's a girl who did I forget her name.
What's the name? Do you remember the name, Andrew?
Kantu. Yeah. That's Small
was there as well. Yeah. So she also was part of the contestants. Yeah. But Mordecai, I remember he was how old is that? Maybe
10 years old.
10 years old. Yeah. When I met him, he remembered. Yeah. So all of those guys are through. I mean, they came and auditioned, and I think it was a very great opportunity and great platform for them to. Yeah. Let's speak about some of the awards that have been given to you, Mr. Thompson. Man of the Year. I don't know what others are. We can talk about the nominations as well.
There's a one Mwape award from New York as well. Man of Excellence. Ngoma Awards. Where You At Awards. As well as the national award. I was so touched with that. I was humbled that I was selected, and I, first and foremost, even Man of the Year was something that touched me, because I was competing with Yo Maps and a surgeon at UTH and so on.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bother going for the.
Oh, you didn't go? You said winning.
It was impossible. I mean, Yo Maps is up there, and the surgeon at UTH. I mean, who's the filmmaker? Why would people want me to be the Man of the Year? And so they called me and they said, "You're supposed to be here. You actually won Man of the Year." And I couldn't believe it. So they said, "Can you do a recording?" And I did a recording, and that's what they played at the event.
Yeah.
I was actually traveling to Botswana when so I had to record and just send it to them. Yeah. So it was quite a big. I felt it was quite a big achievement. I hold it. I really appreciated that one, and the most prestigious for me was the government award, which is called the Grand Eagle of Zambia award. It was, I was really touched. I never expected it. And again, these things, they call you last minute and they just tell you, oh, come for rehearsals. Rehearsals for what? What is going on? And showing me how to march and how to address the president and stuff like that. It was something completely unexpected,
Yeah.
And of course they also gave us a package of some payment for that. That was really,
good.
amazing.
Congratulations to Thompson, because I think filmmakers, producers, you're all the time behind the scenes, and for me, that's why an interview like this is particularly very important, because we're very good at looking at the actors but not knowing the great work that's done behind the scenes, and even in terms of recognition, it seemed very nice and encouraging that they were able to recognize you in that manner. I mean, our podcast is just maybe well over just 2 months. We got a nomination. We've been nominated for best podcast of the year. So we don't know how that is going to go.
You're going to
win, but we're very hopeful.
You're going to win, because I think this show is really well. I think I like the topics that you talk. You select, and the people you choose to speak to, and I think that's what we need in Zambia. It's not always about undressing somebody, and
controversy
and all that.
Mr. Thompson, let's speak about your work when you're not making film.
Yeah.
What else do you do? You spoke about fixing very briefly. Can we delve into that?
Yeah, I'm a fixer, and I've been fixing for many years. And I've been doing fixing in film. Fixing in film is something to do with when you even for you, when I'm going like to Chipata or somewhere there, I need a fixer on the ground to make sure that, because I'm not privy to what happens in the thing. I'm not sure of the rules and regulations and things like that. So in Zambia, internationally, I'm known quite well for fixing. Not only in Zambia, I also cover Malawi, and I brought a lot of international companies into Zambia, and giving them the information, sending them the type of locations we have. So selling Zambia in a way as well, showing them the different things and making them understand that Zambia is a film-friendly destination. So I do a lot of that type of work, and I've done, I don't know if you know that I was also behind the fixing for, or local producing for Black Panther when it happened here. I'm the one who set up everything. We got choppers coming from South Africa. We had to move the fuel for the same, getting accommodation for all the people who were coming down and things like that. So it's a big part of making films that people tend to ignore, and a lot of people in the film industry, I'd like to encourage them to also say fixing is part of the film process, and it's something also to consider getting into. So the people who get in touch with me are from all over the world. I've worked with people from different. I've done Amazing Race, Naked and Afraid. You name it. I've done so much work. That has been like the primary thing that has kept me going. Is the fixing that I do. I've even fixed for CNN, even where you were involved in some of the productions, and a lot of organizations. I mean, I work like almost in a month. I'm doing so many different works. Yeah.
Let's speak about the Zambia Oscars Committee.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Well, the Oscars committee wanted to have fair representation, by establishing committees in various African countries and various countries all over the world. And we had to apply as a country. And Martina Mwanza was instrumental in making the application. And we are recognized as a committee for the Oscars in Zambia. And there's several times when we've called for productions, but you see the quality level of some of the productions that are coming are not that standard. Even, for example, Can You See Us? We put it on there, but we didn't follow the criteria that is required. One, that they should have used vernacular. So we couldn't enter that to enter as a best foreign language film. but we shot it in English, so it couldn't succeed.
Mm.
But the committee exists, and it's there, and it needs more support. People need to support it more, because tragically, the guinea fowl, the film about on becoming a guinea fowl, was supposed to go through the thing, but because we didn't, we were late to make a submission. We failed to get that one on, and it was a real tragedy as far as we were concerned. And we're just hoping that we won't have such things happening. But Martina's running that mainly on her own, and there's not much support. And I think the government and everybody else really need to say this thing needs to exist. They don't realize the importance of it, because one day, if Zambia gets a recognition with the Oscars, it will be so great for the upcoming film industry that we're creating.
What about the guild?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is it the same? Is it similar?
No, the guild is something different. And one of the questions which the young man was asking us earlier about, that's the reason why you find that we don't have proper systems in place. And you find that, yes, people will come into the country and maybe not give us the right deals and stuff like that. But the guild is one which can advocate for it. It means that the film industry mustn't be, we're so divided, and people are competing with each other unnecessarily. I think they need to come together, work together, and form guilds that will protect the interest and things like that. And say, if everybody says we're going to work for, if ZMBC wants a film from us, they have to pay this amount, and that's what will set the standards. If you look at Kenya and places like that, they have guilds there, and that's why you find that they get better deals. Nigeria, same thing. They get better deals because of the powerful guilds that they have there and the film commissions that they have.
So, as we wrap up, Mr. Thompson, I want you to speak about the Bantu Film Festival. Before my final question, to do with what you want your legacy to be in as far as film in Zambia is concerned. Let's start with the festival.
Yeah, the Bantu Film Festival is in Botswana. I sat on the panel for the selection of the films, and Zambian films weren't entered the past one that I was in. But I was honored to be selected to be part of that panel, and be able to select films from the region. And they were powerful films, well produced, and so on. And I think the Bantu Film Festival is one of the festivals that is coming up because the government of Botswana supports it quite heavily. Yeah.
So as we wind up, Mr. Thompson, somebody who's out there, young or old, who would want to take up film, get into the film industry, what advice would you give them?
I think the first thing, don't look at film like a place where you want to just make millions and become famous and things like that. I think you must ask yourself, why do you want to be in the film industry? I was driven by passion to make films. And, sometimes when you're driven by passion, you take a heavy burden on you. And so if you're going to go in this thing, be prepared to face many challenges and all that. But the beauty about it all is when you come up with a product that people appreciate, there's nothing better than that. But it's important to go there for the right reasons. Don't just go there to get famous and things like that. Go there because you got passion for it. And that's what I would encourage the young people to. If they want to go into filmmaking, they should have the passion for it.
Are you happy with the current status of the film industry in Zambia? Can we do better?
I will only be happy when there's a fully established film commission, and that's what I'm advocating for and fighting for. And I keep talking about it, and I won't stop talking about it until we have established a national film commission. And I think also I'm trying to urge all these young people, get into the guilds. Don't be distracted and thinking that it's not necessary. It's very necessary. And that way you will have control of your industry, and nobody's going to come and push you around if you are established guilds in the industry.
Mr. Thompson, thank you very much for sitting down and having a conversation with us. It's truly inspirational. It's nice to hear your story. I've known you for many years. You're like my father. And some of the things that have come out of this interview, I never knew about. Okay. So I know that it's a story that is very interesting to those that are watching. But also, there's a high level of inspiration in your story. Well, thank you so much for making time to come and sit with us.
Thank you very much. And I just hope that people will look at the intention of the story and not make assumptions or anything like that. It's not meant to hurt anybody, but just, just my experience and what I thought about it.
We appreciate that. Yeah. All right, so we're back again next week at the same time. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so that each time we post a new episode, you get notified.